After realizing that recent One Piece chapters were making me think more deeply about life than any of the seinen series I've ever read, I came to this conclusion. One Piece is basically a seinen series pretending to be a shonen. Hey, what's up everybody? It's LeeLos, and today we're talking about why Gear 5 is perfect. Stay steady in pursuit of your dreams and goals. You're born to win, you're made for greatness, and I definitely believe in you guys. Keep up the great work each and every day. So, a lot of people are having trouble understanding the concepts of fate and prophecy surrounding JoyBoy and Gear 5. The gut reaction being to assume fate in One Piece works the same way that it does in other popular shonen series like Naruto. While the truth is, there's a ton of statements and facts from the One Piece series that say something very differently. This video is designed to be the consummate one-stop shop destination for everyone who just discovered Gear 5 or has become confused about Gear 5. Consider this video to be a guidebook to keep you steady through the Gear 5 lore as the plot of One Piece gets deeper and deeper.
Just start expanding, my voice got a little deeper and deeper.
For the viewers who have studied One Piece for decades, to the new viewers from TikTok who have honestly no idea what they're even looking at, all they know is that it's peak, and for everyone in between, we're going over all the info from the manga and databooks telling us everything we know about Gear 5 and Joy Boy and this mysterious prophecy. After realizing that recent One Piece chapters were making me think more deeply about life than any of the seinen series I've ever read, I came to this conclusion. One Piece is basically a seinen series pretending to be a shonen. It started out as a feel-good adventure story, but ever since Sabaody, it's been more of a political war manga with epic adventures. I mean, in that one arc, Oda really did just casually add slavery, a caste system, political corruption, and a group of people with a god complex all to his story super casually, and really no one asked any questions. Well, one guy did, in an SBS. Oda told him, nah, don't worry about it, bro, One Piece isn't that deep. So seinen series are adult manga. You could just think of them as rated R manga. So seinen series like Vinland Saga or Berserk, they tend to make you think deep AF about life, just through how they play with the themes. Adult series like these usually don't hold your hand or spell out the themes for you. They're subtle, but after discussing them, they become impossible to ignore, such as Thorfinn's journey for meaning in life, which is a theme in Vinland Saga. It's not spelled out to you, but you feel it the whole time, and the breadcrumbs are there from the very beginning. They don't give definite answers right away to a lot of the big questions. Rather, the author opens up huge mysteries and gives you breadcrumbs for several IRL years, then does a huge reveal several years later that shakes you to your very being. Berserk's doing that right now. Griffith came back to life like 15 real-life years ago. We don't fully know how, and he appeared in the dreams of thousands of people before he arrived like a prophecy. We don't fully know why. All the while, there's a constant theme of guts fighting against fate that's all throughout the series, so you're constantly thinking super deep about these things in the background of your brain as you read any chapter of Berserk, and each chapter you get little breadcrumbs hinting more and more at these themes, which starts up the big brain discussions. Well, Oda's been doing this exact same thing for a very long time, and it's gone way over the heads of the younger viewers. An example being Blackbeard beats Ace around chapter 300. It's stated that this will lead to a world-changing event, and about 200 chapters later, which is about 5 real-life years, Marineford happens, and all in between there's breadcrumbs leading up to this. Similar things happening now. Joy Boy was first mentioned in Fishman Island, and now in Wano we're finally getting some more in-depth information about him. End of Dressrosa, the narrator straight up says, this squad, the Grand Fleet, they're gonna be involved in some cataclysmic history-changing event in the future, but hey, don't worry about that right now, bro, okay? Like, none of these guys know that, alright? And then it seems this event's happening right now, 300 chapters later in Egghead Island. So what I'm saying is, Oda's been writing One Piece with a seinen writing style for the majority of the series, but because it's published in shonen, people are still viewing it through the perspective of a shonen. While most shonen series, if they had a concept like fate, would have been much more straightforward about it and explained it earlier on, Oda has been hinting at fate, predictions, and dreams, and all three of them are different, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Oda's been hinting at them and letting people theorize and debate about them for 2 decades plus. It's very seinen style writing. It's the same thing that's done in Berserk, Vagabond, and Vinland Saga. Also, just because fate is a story element doesn't make it a bad thing automatically, and it doesn't mean the fate and prophecies are going to go the way that you expect. Anakin from Star Wars and Aang from Avatar are perfect examples of having fate and still having a great story and having things go completely different than what you would expect from hearing the prophecies, so things like that are possible. So let's continue and get into this and all of the great details about Gear 5 and Joy Boy in this LeeLos Adventure Talk Show. Okay, hey, what's up everybody? This is LeeLos Adventure Talk Show episode 4, and today we're going in depth detail about everything we know about Gear 5 and Joy Boy lore from all of the statements in the manga and the databooks, and I'm going to be going in chronological order order as well. So the video will be starting out around the first mentions of Joy Boy, and it'll continue all the way through to the most recent chapters where Joy Boy is being mentioned like left and right. We're going to mention what we know objectively so far about Gear 5 and Joy Boy. Then we're going to talk about questions that we still have unanswered, and then we're going to talk about what we can infer from statements, lore in the DataBooks alone. They're all going to kind of blend together, but just keep those three things in mind because that's going to be the main format for this entire talk show. Okay, so the first mention of Joy Boy is during Fishman Island. So it's chapter 628. So Fishman Island has a secret poneglyph that's different from all the other poneglyphs that Robin's ever read before. We don't get to see what's word for word written on it, but Robin says it sounds like a letter or an apology of some kind to an unnamed person. And then Robin says that Joy Boy's name is mentioned throughout the poneglyph and she doesn't know who that is. For the new viewers of One Piece, the poneglyphs are these mysterious stone tablets that are scattered throughout the world in One Piece, written in an ancient language that doesn't exist anymore. So we don't know what's written on the tablets. They've been there since like the start of the series and no one really knows what's on them. The tablets all come from a 100-year gap in history where there's just zero information. So that's called the Void Century. And the One Piece world government's super corrupt, so they just kill anyone who even tries to study these stones, the poneglyphs. They just kill anyone who just tries to decipher them, and we don't know why. And only a handful of people who can translate these stones are still alive, and one of those people is Robin on the Straw Hat crew, which is why in the earlier arcs of One Piece, the world government was trying to wipe her out, and the Straw Hats like brawled the entire world government to get her back. So continuing on with the lore, as this arc continues, it's revealed that Joy Boy wrote this poneglyph as an apology letter. King Neptune later says that Joy Boy was a person who lived on the surface during the 100-year Void Century. So that statement gives us a lot to talk about. So let me just do a little inference point here. That gives us a lot to talk about because Joy Boy's race has never been confirmed. He could be a giant, a human, a Lunarian, really anything that lives on the surface, or maybe even like a Fishman that chose to live on the surface. So we'll get into Joy Boy's race more later. So the poneglyph on Fishman Island that was just stashed in the forest, it was an apology letter to the mermaid princess from the Void Century. So more specifically, the poneglyph was an apology for breaking a promise made with Fishman Island. The promise was not stated clearly during Fishman Island, but hundreds of chapters later, Neptune reveals it's a promise to destroy the gates of Fishman Island. So I mean, to be honest, that really doesn't tell us anything either because we don't know exactly what that means. I mean, it could either mean opening up Fishman Island, similar to opening the gates of Wano, to like good things, or it could mean just destroying Fishman Island altogether. And something that's actually really interesting is that Fishman Island has a prophet who's had visions of the future ever since she was a child, and these visions have all turned out to be correct so far. She's a mermaid named Charlie. So yeah, she predicted the Marineford War, Roger's death, and a lot more before any of that stuff even happened. And a really interesting thing is that no one knows why she has this power or what this power even is. She can only use it through a crystal ball, and it's not confirmed to be hockey or a devil fruit. So here's another inference point, like that's something we don't know. Here's an inference point, is that it might be some other power system altogether, similar to the CP9 6 techniques they use, which like give normal human beings the ability to fly and shoot invisible kamehamehas. So there's other power systems in One Piece other than just hockey and devil fruits. And there's also powers that go down from tribes, like the Long Arm tribe has the ability to like extend their joints and stuff. It's pretty wild. So, I mean, this could also be a tribe type ability, or similar to how Lunarians can like set themselves on fire and just be chilling. So it could be something like that too, back to the stuff we know. So Charlie has a prediction of the future that Luffy will destroy Fishman Island. So these prophecies of destroying Fishman Island and destroying the gates of Fishman Island, they're contradicting each other, and both of them are vague, so we really don't know what's going to happen. Okay. It's worth mentioning that all throughout Fishman Island, Neptune refers to this prophecy as the promised day. He gives off the vibe that he's kind of looking forward to it, honestly. And seeing how Joy Boy went out of his way to write an apology letter for not doing this promise himself, it seems that the ancient Fishman Island was also looking looking forward to this promised day. That's why I said that the two prophecies seem to contradict each other, one being something Fishman Island has been looking forward to, and the other being complete destruction of Fishman Island. We don't know if the prophecy Charlie saw for Luffy was the same as the one Joy Boy was promising. That has not been confirmed yet. It's been implied, but it has not been confirmed yet. But legend says someone will come along to fulfill Joy Boy's promise for Joy Boy. But Neptune does not know who this person is supposed to be. And if you ask Neptune, like, hey bro, like, where are you getting that knowledge from? His response is, that's what the legend says. So once again, that's left vague on purpose. Like, we don't know who in the legend was saying someone will come in the future to do what Joy Boy failed to do. It could have been Joy Boy saying that. It could have been someone with Charlie's future seeing ability saying that. And it could have just been Joy Boy, like, relaying what someone else told him. That part is left purposefully ambiguous so that we can keep having debates about it and discussions. Like, yeah. It's how Oda writes stuff, man. So as the series progresses, Neptune himself, he just has no idea who this chosen person is who's going to fulfill Joy Boy's promise is. Basically, whoever this person is, they're going to be someone in the upcoming generation around the same age as Shirahoshi, who is going to work together with Shirahoshi and fill Joy Boy's role, the role that Joy Boy was supposed to do, but he failed to do for some reason. But Neptune doesn't know who that is. Like, Neptune doesn't know who this person is who's supposed to fulfill Joy Boy's role. Apparently it's not said in the legend, or he was just never told. As the series progresses, Neptune himself thought that it would be Roger to fulfill the prophecy. Narratively, that would make sense because, I mean, Roger's basically Luffy without a devil fruit. Also, it would have made sense for it to be Whitebeard because Whitebeard declared Fishman Island as his territory and was good buddies with Neptune. But Roger and Whitebeard both died before the promise today, and it seems that it's going to be Luffy who fulfills the promise to Fishman Island. And once again, we don't know why. So here's an inference. To all the people saying Luffy's the chosen one, Luffy's a god, that's just objectively, like, not true. Luffy's really just the only chosen one left. Like, there's been a bunch of them throughout history. They've just all died except for Luffy. But they all could have filled Luffy's role. Honestly, anyone who's around the same age as Shirahoshi has the ability to fulfill the prophecy. So it doesn't even have to be Luffy. Like, for example, it could be Eustace Kid. Could you imagine if this whole time the person Joy Boy was waiting for was Eustace Kid? Also, here's a key clarifying point that I want to include. So this promise Joy Boy made, it involves two people, Poseidon and then the one who will lead Poseidon. Poseidon is an ancient weapon with the ability to control all the Sea Kings, which are island-crushing monsters that have greater than human level intellect and speak telepathically using the voice of all things. They're bonkers. And Poseidon is the queen of all of the Sea Kings, and Poseidon is born only every few hundreds of years, and they're born as a mermaid. So the previous era Poseidon was 800 years ago and was a mermaid princess of Fishman Island during the Void Century. That was the previous Poseidon. So they were 800 years ago, and they lived in the Void Century, and they were friends with Joy Boy, or they at least knew Joy Boy. We don't know if they were really friends. It's implied, but you know. But the original promise Joy Boy made was that he would lead Poseidon to break the gates of Fishman Island. That's the promise Joy Boy made, and you get that by piecing together the intro portion of the story from Fishman Island with the remaining portions of the story that Neptune says during the Roger flashback. Joy Boy dies before he achieves his promise, so before he dies, he wrote this apology letter to Poseidon, and according to the legend, it's not confirmed if this legend was referring to Joy Boy's letter or some other completely separate legend altogether. This unnamed legend says, hey bro, like, don't worry about it. In the future, someone else is gonna do it for me, okay? Like, that's what the legend says. We don't know who or what this legend came from. We don't even know if it's a real prophecy. It could have been Joy Boy's dream. So this is an inference point. It could have been Joy Boy's dream, or it's possible that during the Void Century, they had another prophet with the same power as Charlie, and this prophet saw the vision of the future through a crystal ball and told Joy Boy the vision, and Joy Boy was just repeating what he was told, making it a vague prophecy. Or it could have been a prediction or a plan, which like literally always fail in One Piece all the time. So here's a huge misunderstanding in the community that I want to correct right now. So this prophecy, it's just doing the promise that Joy Boy himself failed to achieve, so he needs someone else to take his place and do it for him. It requires someone to take Poseidon's place and then someone to take Joy Boy's place and then work together and fulfill the promise the same way Joy Boy would have during his era. With the reveal of Gear 5, it's heavily implied that it will be Luffy, especially because Zuniesha said Luffy and Joy Boy both had the same heartbeat. So when Oda the narrator says Luffy is the next Joy Boy, he's not saying that Luffy is Joy Boy reincarnated. He's literally saying Luffy is filling the role of Joy Boy, but in the modern era. So in other words, Luffy's just doing Joy Boy's job for him because Joy Boy failed, and Luffy's succeeding where Joy Boy failed. And this is emphasized even more by Roger, where he says, "We were too early and there will be a group who surpasses us." Oda left this part vague too, but it implies that Luffy will go further than Joy Boy did and achieve Joy Boy's promise for him. Thus, he will also go further than Roger did too, because Joy Boy, Roger said that he wished that he lived in the era of Joy Boy. We don't know why he said that, but it kind of implies that Joy Boy had some more information that Roger wanted. I mean, that's kind of a rabbit hole. I didn't want to mention that point, but I did anyway, so that's just a whole labyrinth of possibilities there. I'm just going to kind of leave that there and continue with what I was saying. Anyways, so I'm going to take this moment to explain that there's a difference between prediction, prophecy, and dreams in One Piece. They're all connected with the future, with dreams being the strongest and most reliable, prophecies being the second strongest, and predictions and plans just literally never happening ever. And this is just a running theme that's happened all throughout One Piece, starting with Captain Kuro all the way till right now. Dreams are constantly shown as being strong enough to transcend death and to be passed on to other people, which is shown with Roger and Luffy having the same secret dream, and it's foreshadowed by Blackbeard in Jaya, where he says dreams never die. Another example being Sabo inheriting Ace's will and inheriting his devil fruit. There's a lot more in the series. The list goes on and on. But this concept is that dreams are stronger than fate and that they just never end and they can never die. And this concept of dreams being stronger than fate is within Fishman Island as well. But we'll get into that a little bit more later. With all the unknowns about this Joy Boy promise, it's possible that Joy Boy's promise was actually just Joy Boy's dream. Seeing how Neptune did not know who the person to fulfill the prophecy was, it's possible that Joy Boy didn't know either. And if that's the case, it's possible that this was just his dream and he had faith that someone down the line would achieve it because dreams never die. Furthermore, Roger and Luffy both have the same secret dream. It's possible that Joy Boy had the same secret dream as Roger and Luffy as well. If that's the case, it's also possible that this secret dream is the exact same thing as the promised prophecy, but that's all like what if maybes. There's also the possibility that someone had the same power as Charlie to see the future, but they lived in the Void Century. This Void Century future teller saw the exact same future that Charlie saw and then told Joy Boy the vision. That's possible too. So, but those are all like inference points. It's very possible because Charlie already predicted 1/3 of this exact same prophecy by predicting the exact year Shirahoshi would be born, and she was correct. Seeing how Charlie and Joy Boy are both accurately talking about the same prophecy, and so are the Sea Kings, like the fish in the freaking water are talking about this too. It's possible they all saw the same thing through the same power that has not been confirmed to be Haki. We don't know what it is. It might be the voice of all things. Also, it's not confirmed if Charlie's ability to predict the future is a devil fruit or not, but it's heavily implied that it is not. So here's the big thing that separates One Piece prophecy from Naruto prophecy. In Naruto prophecy, it's more like the Sage of Six Path comes out and he's like, "Hey yo, Naruto bro, you got the soul of a ninja who is a Chad, so that's why you're a Chad too, okay?" But in One Piece, it's like, yo, Joy Boy might have seen the actual, real, legitimate future using a devil fruit or some scary, unknown magic power and was just saying what he actually saw. So there's a difference between those things. And we also know that just because you see the future in One Piece or make a prediction doesn't mean it happens the way you expect it to. So it's also very possible that the entire prophecy could fail. Like if Shirahoshi dies, it's pretty much over and they have to wait hundreds of years again for another Poseidon to be born. Yeah, we don't know if she has plot armor or not, bro. She's nearly died like a lot. already. She's really weak. So. And yeah, all that being said, as interesting as the story is right now, Oda's still an absolute mad lad. He's still the man who hid the main character's actual power from us for 1,000 chapters. It's very possible Oda might pull a Houdini Uno reversal switcheroo last minute plot twist on us and have something like for example, Oda could just easily say, you know what, hey, Joy Boy was a liar. And if he just says that, then it changes everything. Like, so, I mean, that's possible. You just have to keep in mind, like, Oda literally is a man who went 1,044 chapters telling us this guy was made of rubber, only to tell us that he's made of some other substance like freedom itself, and he still hasn't even explained that. Like, you got to understand, this man's a mad lad, okay? You don't know what he'll do with the story ever. It's like trying to predict JoJo. And as I was saying earlier, so there's the Joy Boy prophecy, and then Luffy has a prophecy specifically to him that Luffy will bring ruin to Fishman Island. So this is the only prophecy confirmed so far to have Luffy mentioned like directly by name, and this one hasn't come true yet either. One Piece has a promised day in it where the prophecy of Joy Boy is meant to be fulfilled, or the promise of Joy Boy is meant to be fulfilled by this current generation. Kind of like the rumbling from Attack on Titan, like the One Piece might have some rumbling stuff happen in it in later chapters, because this promised day is supposed to be something that the fishermen are looking forward to, but it might also destroy the world at the same time because Poseidon's involved, so it might legit be some like rumbling type scenario in One Piece. We don't know yet. Okay, so here's another thing I want to say. It's backed up by pictures in the Road to Laugh-Tale DataBook. The Joy Boy prophecy and Joy Boy's promise to Fishman Island, they seem to be just two names for the exact same thing. Joy Boy made some kind of promise to Fishman Island. He failed to achieve it during his own lifetime. He apologizes for it and says, hey, don't worry about it, bro. Someone else is going to do it for me eventually. I added this fun fact in my notes here, so I'm just going to say it. I don't remember why I put this here, but I put this fun fact in my notes, so I'm just going to say it. It says, we know in recent chapters Vegapunk found tech from the Void Century that is so advanced he couldn't replicate the material, and this man's such an OP scientist, he's almost Yonko tier with like pure brain power. So this man created sentient living beings with personalities and overpowered Lunarian genetics that are relative to upper division commanders like the moment they're born, and he did it just for fun, dude. Like, and this man with just pure brain power alone built technology that can just instantly erase islands, and he's 500 years ahead of current tech, but when he saw the Void Century, he's just completely baffled. Is the arc of prophecy not meant to move until a certain day arrives? I want to take this moment to say that there's a ton of Bible references all throughout One Piece. Like, there's a Noah's Ark, there's Adam Wood, there's devil fruits, there's the return of a savior, the celestial dragons are called gods, and in recent chapters we find out that emus worshipped like a god by the five elders. All of these are heavy themes in One Piece that have a lot of parallels to the Bible. Like I said, dude, like One Piece is definitely as sane and just pretending to be a shonen. I honestly think Oda's been doing this entirely on purpose and just pretending like it's a coincidence so he doesn't have to deal with backlash from the more sensitive fans. So the prophecy involving Noah and Shirahoshi and the Sea Kings, the current king, Neptune, is aware of all of that. So much so that he calls Noah a precious ship that must not be damaged. And we see this fishy fish king speaking with Roger about the same prophecy as well. He cares about it a lot. He's kind of actually looking forward to this One Piece rumbling. Noah is a ship sitting on the ocean floor waiting to fulfill a promise made centuries ago with a great man. And that great man is Joy Boy. The methods to create the Noah ship are lost, so either it's made of material from the Void Century that doesn't exist anymore, or it may have been an ancient weapon, like a really, really ancient weapon, before the ancient weapons even, possibly, who knows. It's pretty wild. So the Noah sits at the bottom of the ocean waiting for the promised day, and it's been protected by the fishermen of Fishman Island for centuries. Whitebeard mentions that he owed King Neptune a favor, could have been referring to him treating his bro Oden real nice. Whitebeard becomes friends with Neptune and then declares Fishman Island his territory. During Brook's fight with some Fishman fodder, he says the same line that Luffy says before going Gear 5 again during Wano. When people die, the only thing they leave behind is bones. So there could be a connection there, the way that Luffy said that right before going Gear 5, and how Brook is saying that in Fishman Island, an arc where it's literally saturated with Joy Boy references. Dreams are stronger than fate in One Piece. That's a running theme throughout the entire story. Also emphasized here were fodder fishmen number 203 goes on a rant saying that all of them are fated to die there on Fishman Island and inspire the next wave of vengeance. Brook steps in and says their belief in Luffy's dream of becoming king of the pirates overcomes that fate, so they have no reason to fear this fate or fear Noah crushing them. And the dream is stronger and it'll win in the end. A lot of parallels in Fishman Island to Wano. So as Luffy's thrashing Noah to pebbles and bits, Neptune says, "Forgive me, Joy Boy, we will be unable to fulfill the promise." The Sea Kings stop Noah from crashing, and then they reveal that they're involved in the prophecy as well. Like I was saying earlier, the Sea Kings actually possess human-level intelligence, maybe even smarter than humans. I think that's pretty crazy because I thought that they were just big OP fish, but they have deep, articulate, telepathic conversation with one another using the voice of all things. And since Zuniesha also speaks with the voice of all things, these guys might actually be able to talk to each other. They might be straight up like having Discord chats all the time. The Sea Kings even do power scaling and like deductive reasoning on Luffy. It's pretty wild. They show up, they're like, dude, if we had came here a little bit later, this man would have destroyed all of Noah. They were pretty much saying like, dude, this guy's attack potency and destructive capability are off the charts, man. Like they're pretty much saying like some power scaling stuff. Then they proceed to give Shirahoshi deep wisdom about life. It's pretty nuts. And Shirahoshi, it's revealed she's a living ancient weapon. She controls the Sea Kings entirely. Their will and her will are connected. It's stated by the Sea Kings that our power is your power. The moment she wished for the strength to help Luffy, the Sea Kings instantly showed up ready to throw hands. So Shirahoshi's basically a crybaby stand user from JoJo, but all of the most powerful island-crushing Sea Kings in the world of One Piece together are her stand. They follow her will without question, so underwater she's the strongest character in One Piece by a very large margin. With this power, Shirahoshi is stated to be able to destroy the world, and to be honest, I really love that concept. The idea of giving like a crybaby wimp the power to destroy the planet and then just have her get constantly low-diffed by the weakest characters anyway is just honestly pretty genius, I'm gonna be honest. There's a huge parallel between Shirahoshi, Joy Boy, and Luffy. The Sea Kings say they waited for Shirahoshi to be born and that Noah was built specifically for the Sea Kings to pull on Promise Day. The Sea Kings were shocked to see that Luffy can hear them, and they recall the only other time that ever happened was with Roger. The Sea Kings are pretty hyped about pulling this big ship and maybe destroying the world along the way. Joy Boy could be apologizing for destroying the world in the future as well, like we don't know. Fishman Island finishes up with Jinbei breaking the old law of not sharing blood with humans to save Luffy's life, and the narrator says this is a real representation of the true road toward the sun. Seeing how Gear 5 is representing the sun god, that could definitely have a connection towards Gear 5. Noah's ship is implied that it was originally built for Joy Boy and the mermaid princess Poseidon in the Void Century to use the Sea Kings and ride the Noah and complete the promise of whatever that promise was. But Joy Boy either changed his mind or failed or just straight was about to die, and then he says on Promise Day someone else will come and do it for him. So since Shirahoshi has the same power as Poseidon, Shirahoshi's also named Poseidon, and she's literally a living ancient weapon. The ancient weapons were weapons from possibly even before the Void Century that were so powerful they could destroy the world. It's never stated how many there were in total, but to this current day 3 of them still exist or have the ability to be recreated, which is Uranus, Pluton, and Poseidon, and Shirahoshi is Poseidon. The sun god fruit might also have been considered an ancient weapon as well, but we don't know. Okay, so now we're getting into the Joy Boy and Gear 5 lore that's revealed during the Roger and Oden flashback. So hundreds of years ago, the Minks and the samurai of Oden's bloodline from Wano made an unbreakable pact and became brothers. We don't know why they did that, but they're loyal friends forever, and it might have a connection to Joy Boy's promise to the Fishman, seeing how all 3 islands have Ponyglphs. Roger stated that there are 4 red Ponyglphs that the One Piece world government has forbidden to read, and when put together, they create a map showing the destination of the final island in One Piece. So as of now, there are multiple types of Ponyglphs. Here's a little overview of some of the different types. There's the apology letter from Joy Boy on Fishman Island. There's the Ponyglphs containing the history of the Void Century that were on Ohara, and then there's the red Ponyglphs that are a map to the final island. Also, the Ponyglphs in Alabasta, I think they had like blueprints to one of the ancient weapons, and Skypiea has some Ponyglphs hidden throughout there as well. It's possible that the apology letter is the only unique poneglyph and all the other ones say similar things, but like I said, we just don't know yet. Oh, and here's a fun fact that I wrote in my notes. Frankie is the only Straw Hat that got to meet the Chad of Wano, Oden. The Sea Kings during Fishman Island say the only other person who heard them speak was Roger, but Oda reveals more in this flashback that Oden was actually there with them too and heard them too. The poneglyph in Sky Island has a message in it basically saying, hey dude, go to Fishman Island and you'll find Poseidon there. Really wild. It seems like the poneglyphs might have all been made at the same time and were scattered to specific locations on purpose because they knew where Poseidon was going to be. I mean, to be completely fair, Poseidon's always going to be a mermaid, so of course they're going to be in the water, but King Neptune goes on to say that his daughter's basically the One Piece version of Eren Yeager and has the power and is actually destined to destroy the world, but he says, hey, it's just a prophecy, bro, like every power depends on how you use it, which is also a message to the viewers that just because Oda puts prophecy in the story doesn't mean that it will happen the way that we think it will. And because he has not confirmed the origin of many big prophecies, it makes it even more interesting because like I said, we don't know if they're predictions or prophecies or dreams or like where they're even coming from. Like, are they coming from a devil fruit, a higher power in the One Piece world? Is it like some channel, the voice of all things, gives you that good knowledge about the future or something because the Sea Kings knew it too? Roger also tells Pedro everyone gets their turn, their time to shine. When it comes around, you can help us too. And Pedro echoes these words in Whole Cake Island, saying he believes that the Straw Hats were the pirates that Roger was waiting for, and this feeds into the idea that dreams of pirates never die. All this being said, there's a lot of evidence leading to the idea that all of these prophecies are the dream of Joy Boy and the people from the Void Century. They couldn't accomplish it in their lifetime. The dream didn't die with them, it went to Roger, and then Roger died, it went to Shanks. Shanks then chose to go full snake mode, so then it went to Luffy. That is the narrative direction in the background of all the prophecies, but like I said, Oda's still sprinkling those breadcrumbs. He could do anything with this, and eventually someone will achieve the most important dreams. Even on the Marine side with the recent chapters where Garp's calling all of his cadets the future of the Marines, and he even has like a little message in there talking about like, yo, the future's more important than the old. Oden reveals that when they found the One Piece, that was the same day they learned the entire truth of the world. They learned everything about the Void Century, the D-Clan, the ancient weapons, and much more. This endgame information that he writes about in his journal, he ends up tearing that page out, so when Momonosuke reads it, he doesn't actually know like any of this stuff either. And we don't know why he tore it out either. So the treasure that Joy Boy left behind is titled The One Piece by like the world's slang. When Roger found the treasure, they didn't have a name for it, so the world started calling it the One Piece. And when Roger found the One Piece, it made him and his entire crew laugh. We have no idea why. Roger says he wishes he was born in Joy Boy's time. This is not clarified as to why or what he means by that. Then Roger names the final island Laugh Tale. After seeing the One Piece treasure, Roger says something to Shanks that makes him break down and just straight up cry, and we don't know what he said. And after seeing the One Piece treasure, Roger's crew says, at this point I can understand why the government would want to hide your name. We don't know exactly when they changed it from Goldie Roger to Gold Roger. That was like implied. So it could have always been Gold Roger and they were just getting it wrong from the start, hiding it from the start, or they started hiding it right after Roger found the One Piece. We don't know when they started misspelling his name. The One Piece treasure gives all the information about the D-Clan as well, apparently. Roger says that the poneglyph in Skypiea was full of strong voices, meaning it either has a will of its own, like swords or certain devil fruits, or it has some hockey stored in it. The word voice in One Piece is also used to represent a character's hockey or sometimes their life force. Roger has Oden tell him what's written on the poneglyph, then tells Oden to write the following. I hereby guide this document to its end. That was what he said. I hereby guide this document to its end. We don't know everything on that poneglyph, but Fishman Island implies that some of them contain prophecies. So was Roger saying that he was guiding one of the prophecies to conclusion? There's a huge moment where he thinks about the prophecy from Fishman Island and says, we were just too early, and then he goes on to say that he thinks his son will be the one to find the One Piece. Roger also says that the people born of this prophecy will surpass him. Them surpassing Roger is only stated by Roger, so that could just be Roger's own prediction rather than part of the prophecy. And we also saw that he was wrong about his prediction with Ace. Like, he didn't predict Ace turning into a donut, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry, bro. The data book titled Road to Laugh Tale Volume 3, and in this book, Oda gives a lot of information about Gear 5. So in this book, Oda says the next person similar to Joy Boy will lead Shirahoshi to the current Poseidon. So it's showing like Luffy's not the reincarnation of Joy Boy, but he is similar to him. Oda states that this person is taking care of Joy Boy's regrets, which is like what we were talking about earlier. Oda has a line in this data book saying, "Who will be the Joy Boy of the present?" Oda describes mythical zones as kind of a combination of zone and paramecia fruits. So that's kind of an interesting way of thinking of their powers. Luffy's mythical zone fruit in English translates to the human sun god fruit. The human model sun god fruit. Like, it's just strange. Like, what is a human sun god? And there's a lot of inference to go in on that too, but I'm saving that for the later bit. Who's Who gives information on Gear 5 during Wano. So there was an ancient figure that the slaves used to pray to, believing that this ancient figure would free them. This figure was called sun god Nika, and like I said, he was worshipped by the slaves. But the slaves themselves did not even know if the sun god was real or not, and Who's Who said they could have made him up or like dreamed him up accidentally, but the slaves believed that the sun god would bring smiles to their faces and deliver them from suffering. Who's Who heard this from a prison guard. A prison guard told him the story, and then the next day the prison guard disappears. He's like killed. So they kill people for even speaking about sun god in One Piece. It's possible that sun god could have something to do with Joy Boy promise. Sun pirates are from Fishman Island, so it's likely there's a connection to Nika there as well. It's possible that they named it Sun after like worshiping the sun god, because Fishman Islands also used to have a lot of slaves. So this is the stuff that the 5 elders say about Joy Boy in Gear 5. So the 5 elders say that the alternate name for sun god Nika is the warrior of liberation, fighting in whatever way he fancies, bringing smiles to people. This power makes people smile, and in real life that's happening too. People are smiling looking at it just because they know they're witnessing peak. It's also stated that Gear 5 is the most ridiculous power in the world, and it gives Luffy the ability to turn his surroundings and others into rubber. That's why Luffy's able to grab a lightning bolt and throw it, and it's implied that's how he's able to run on the air, by turning the air into rubber. The air portion, that goes into theory category. Someone named Antonio Peacock, so he was mentioning a theory that Gear 5 is not bound by logic, and that Luffy is unbounded by space-time, and that he's literally the embodiment of freedom. So he's not bounded by the laws of nature, running on air, ignoring gravity, warping space-time, ignoring physics, stuff like that. With Gear 5, Oda has left the limitations ambiguous, but they exist, because he says they exist in the data book. He says there's risks and limitations to the form that haven't been revealed yet. The interesting thing about Gear 5 is we never know what Luffy's going to do. The only thing we can confirm right now is that he can turn certain things into rubber and others into rubber, and then he does things that just break the rules of physics themselves, and we don't know why. If you look up any fan art of Gear 5, that person has the freedom to draw any cartoony thing they want. Within reason, it's gonna be canon, because Gear 5 can just do just about anything. There's people who think that now that Luffy has Gear 5, he's just gonna one-shot like everyone in the series. I'll just explain to you, no, it doesn't really work like that. Gear 5 is a power multiplier, yes, but it doesn't make him instantly Saitama. This is shown like when you look at his fight with Kaido, he still gets slammed around pretty heavy while he's in Gear 5, and he's hitting Kaido with a big barrage of attacks, and Kaido can tank it and keep pushing, similar to how he was tanking Gear 4 punches and continuing pushing. People start really stretching and thinking that there's no limit to Luffy in any of his forms whatsoever, but that's never been shown to be true, because throughout the whole series, Luffy was never stronger than what he trained himself to be, no matter how much he believed himself to be so. For example, when Luffy first fights Kaido, he expects to win, he gets one shot. He fights Crocodile again, expects to win again, he loses. He fights Magellan expecting to win, he loses. So it's like, he doesn't just get what he wants because he expects it to. He didn't expect Ace to get turned into a straight up donut from Krispy Kreme, but it happened anyway. So you see what I'm saying? The big thing to keep in mind that we know objectively so far is that Luffy in Gear 5 can turn other things into rubber, and occasionally he breaks the laws of physics by turning things into straight up cartoons. The Warrior of Liberation, meant to bring like smiles to people's faces, that seems to fall hand in hand with the turning everything into cartoons or breaking breaking the laws of physics. It all more or less seems to be silly things designed to make people smile and laugh, rather than just OP, like disgustingly broken, hey, I'm gonna make a spirit bomb and disintegrate Earth type thing. From what we've seen, there's a clear limit to the power. Like, just because Luffy's in Gear 5 doesn't mean he's automatically going to punch harder than like Goku in Super Saiyan Blue. And like I said, that's shown by Kaido tanking numerous punches from Luffy in Gear 5. And that was Luffy right after he went Gear 5. He was amped up and he just said, man, I really feel like I can do anything now. Then unleashes a haymaker on Kaido and Kaido still tanks it. So if he really could just do anything he felt like, don't you think he would have one-shot Kaido? So, no, there's clear limits, but it's just Oda hasn't drawn them in black Sharpie marker yet. He's told us they're there and has been hinting at they're there with the breadcrumbs the same way that he does with literally every other major element in the story like a madman, and he'll slowly reveal it with time. The fact that Luffy can't do everything he thinks is proven by the fact that Gear 5 still has drawbacks. If he could do anything, Gear 5 wouldn't have drawbacks. He would just get out of it and be like, oh, I feel 100%, and then go right back in it, you know? But that's not what happens. He's near death every time he uses it. I don't want to get too deep into my stance on Kaido and JoyBoy in this video. I think I can make a full video on it, so I don't want to spoil too many of those points for this one. There is evidence that Kaido knows more about JoyBoy than what he's said. Here are just some Gear 5 Road to Laugh Tale fun facts. The pose that Luffy does as he transforms into Gear 5 is labeled as an odd dance that made people laugh. Oda confirms that Luffy's ability to lead and win people over is his own ability. Like, he writes that the sun god can win people over, and then he draws an X through it saying, no, that's not the sun god's ability. That's like his way of showing us that, okay, that's Luffy's ability. He can do that because of him. And that's something that Mihawk spoke about during Marineford, saying like, bro, the fact that he can just win people over like this makes him extremely dangerous. And Oda chose to make it so that that's still an ability unique to Luffy, not unique to this awakening. The more Luffy laughs in Gear 5, the stronger he becomes. Gear 5 is designed to be a form that represents Luffy's Luffiness. There's risks we haven't seen guaranteed, and then there's limits implied. The Sun God fruit is implied to be a fruit that can change the world. We don't know why, but it can change the world in a way that the One Piece world government does not want. That's why they keep trying to get it. And the Gear 5 awakening is stated to be Luffy's peak, implying that Luffy won't have any more transformations after this one. But the honest truth, he doesn't need any more. Like, Gear 5 can make him anything. So another interesting thing in this data book is Oda lists the Gum Gum fruit as a paramecia, then the Sun God fruit as a mythical zone. You could argue that Luffy's fruit changes from paramecia to mythical zone when he is awakened. So his base form is paramecia and awakened is mythical zone. It's possible. And then the campfire song the Straw Hats play at Skypiea is revealed to be the same rhythm as Luffy's heartbeat in Gear 5. And Oda has a line in there saying Luffy's body is still made of rubber. So Whitebeard during Marineford speaks of a prophecy that parallels the Joy Boy prophecy. He says Blackbeard's not the man that Roger was waiting for, just as there were some who inherited Roger's will, while panning over to a pic of Luffy, implying Luffy's the one who inherited Roger's will, has actually been implied by Rayleigh, Shanks, pretty much every chapter of One Piece as well, and it's implied that this is the reason why Luffy gives off the vibe of Roger Jr. An inference about this is that people who inherit the wills of previous generations, or people from previous generations, inheriting their will is more than just inheriting their dream, and a lot of times it seems to also be inheriting their personality. It looks like Roger inherited a portion of Joy Boy's will, but died too early to inherit all of it, while Luffy's the one who's inheriting everything from Joy Boy and Roger both, inheriting both their dreams and going further than both of them. Someone will eventually do the same for Ace. You can sever bloodlines, but their flames will never be extinguished. And this turns out to be true in later arcs. We see Sabo inherits Ace's devil fruit, and it actually is kind of like a symbolic meaning here too. Flames will never be extinguished. Ace has the fire fruit, and then Sabo ends up getting the fire fruit, having all the same powers that Ace had. Ace's flame got passed on to Sabo. The flame didn't get extinguished, even though the bloodline did. Since it's confirmed that Roger told Whitebeard everything about the secrets of the D-Clan, and here Whitebeard is speaking of a prophecy that might be the same prophecy Joy Boy spoke about, connect these points together and it implies that the prophecy says a member of the D-Clan will inherit Roger's will, or something along those lines. But they did not know who that person would be, and seeing how Luffy has the same secret dream as Roger, it's clear that the person to carry on Roger's will is Luffy. It has been passed down like that since ancient times, so wills have been passed down this way since ancient times. But is Whitebeard also talking talking about the D-Clan. Whitebeard then says, like an absolute deviant, someday one will arise and shoulder centuries of history. Sengoku, you and the world government fear the great war that will come to this world one day. About 100 mind-boggling connections can be made from that one statement alone. It wouldn't be far to say that this is truly the Webster's definition of bonkers. Joy Boy lived centuries ago and was buddies with Zuniesha and Fishman Island centuries ago, and made a promise to Fishman Island centuries ago involving Poseidon, a being with the ability to destroy the world anytime she felt like it. So when Whitebeard says shoulder centuries of history, it's heavily implied he's referring to the history of the Void Century, or possibly even Joy Boy specifically. Whitebeard was not a prophet, neither was Oden, but suddenly near the end of their lives, they both started spitting monstrous facts about the future. Whitebeard may have learned the history of the Void Century from Roger while clowning around, broing out, and just getting faded, honestly. Like, yeah, you know, just when Whitebeard and Roger were chilling, they were just getting crunk out of their willies. Oden says that the same day he finds the One Piece treasure is the same day he learned all the secrets of the world, meaning finding the One Piece treasure also teaches you all the secrets of the world, or maybe it gives you some kind of infinite intelligence cheat code glitch. Whitebeard then says, I'm not interested in the treasure, but when it's found, the whole world will be turned upside down. Someone will find it, the day will come, the One Piece does exist. Not a single person in Whitebeard's crew is surprised by Whitebeard saying this. Whitebeard mentions a great war. Kaido mentions a great war as well a couple hundred chapters later. This great war seems to be part of the prophecy as well. The only information we have on this battle is that Whitebeard and Kaido both say it will happen and that it's a battle that will involve the entire world. Oda's also been rumored to have stated that the final battle of One Piece will make Marineford look small, and to this day Marineford is the most like heart-wrenching arc in all of One Piece, so either this great battle is part of the Joy Boy prophecy, or it's a completely separate prophecy altogether. If it's part of the Joy Boy prophecy, then it's likely referring to Poseidon using the Sea Kings to destroy the world, and would result in the entire world fighting Sea Kings together. If this giant war is not part of the Joy Boy prophecy, and is instead some completely unique prophecy, then that's super wild too, and then the question that just keeps getting deeper and deeper is where the heck are these prophecies coming from? Who is this One Piece genius cooking up all these prophecies and then vanishing like Houdini? Who knows? So Zuniesha is an elephant that's over 1,000 years old and has been carrying Zoe on its back for at least 1,000 years as a punishment for committing some unnamed crime hundreds of years ago, meaning Zuniesha was already around 200 years old when the Void Century started, and he lived through the entire thing and knows everything about it. And seeing how this elephant was Joy Boy's friend, this crime was likely due to some wild act Zuniesha pulled off with Joy Boy, or just simply the fact that he's the only living non-One Piece world government entity that still exists from the Void Century. Maybe that's the crime in and of itself, similar to how Robin was considered a crime just for being born and being able to read the Ponyglphs. Zuniesha is shown taking cannonballs to the tummy, doing nothing to protect itself, and Zuniesha begs Luffy and Momonosuke to order him to throw some hands. So it shows that Zuniesha can't actually do any physical action without getting command from Momo first, or possibly Luffy as well, because he was asking both of them. Zuniesha says that this is because of the curse and doesn't go into any more detail than that. So it's implied that Zuniesha can only respond to people who can hear the voice of all things. He has pretty much no control over his body. The only thing he can do is just like think while his body's enslaved to carry Zoe, and unless he's given an order from someone who has the voice of all things. But now that Momo's like in Wano, he might be able to get a lot of his free will back. Momo gives Zuniesha the command to rumble up Jack and his crew, and he ends up one-shotting Jack. Pretty much a Yonko tier feat, by the way. So that means that there's someone in One Piece strong enough to curse a 300-year-old Yonko tier elephant into having no free will over its body at all. And the question is, who the heck did that? There's a lot of mysteries. Maybe it was Emu. We really have no idea. A lot of mysteries in One Piece. And then another question I had is like, why was Zuniesha told to carry Zoe, which is considered the brother country to Wano? Yeah, but let me list this line of questions for you guys to think about and discuss in the comments here. So what is Luffy's real connection to Joy Boy? Was Joy Boy a myth, a human? What race do you think he was? Or was he even real? Why did Luffy have to die before becoming Joy Boy? Why did the One Piece world government erase the name of Luffy's devil fruit from history? Is there truly fate in One Piece, or are they just looking into the future? Is there free will in One Piece, or predeterminism in One Piece? That one, you can say that to any series and it's just kind of an annoying debate. I don't like having that one because it's like you can just apply that to anything, so I I don't even, whatever. Why do you guys think Roger said he was too early? Was there more to it than what I was talking about? Why did Shanks make a beeline to the One Piece the moment he sees Luffy in Gear 5 on a wanted poster? Like, this man knew where the One Piece was ever since he was a kid and was just straight chilling. The moment he sees Luffy in Gear 5 on a wanted poster, that man makes a beeline to the One Piece. Like, what is that about? Okay, here's the other question. The Gum Gum Fruit is stated to be able to choose its user. Why did it choose crybaby 7-year-old Luffy, weaker than most of the people watching this video right now in real life? Why did it choose this little baby crybaby boy instead of Shanks, who was literally a 1 billion bounty pirate? Like, why did it do that? And I think that's more evidence that Shanks is just the big boy snake of the series. Like, the Devil Fruit was like, bro, I'd rather go in the hands of this absolute fodder than you, bro. Like, maybe, like, I don't know. But the fruit also chose Luffy over Roger too, which is another thing. Was Kaido looking for Joy Boy for reasons other than wanting someone to kill him? What even is the One Piece, and what connection does it have with Gear 5? Do you think Oda's intentionally doing biblical references throughout One Piece, or it's all truly just an accident? Why do zone fruits have a will of their own? And do you think Vegapunk's theory on devil fruits is correct? So, that was a lot of stuff, guys. I hope you enjoyed your snacks. I hope you enjoyed this podcast or talk show. It's a talk show. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as a podcast, but I wanted it to be a talk show. It's just a cooler name. Everyone says podcast. So yeah, that was everything I wanted to talk about, guys. Thank you for watching. I'm super excited for this Gear 5 episode that's coming out this upcoming weekend. The cool thing about the anime translations is like, so something when I make these videos is I look at different translations. Like sometimes I usually read just Viz because it's the official one. But if you just read like scans and stuff, those were translated by like fan translators. So they're not pro translators, but sometimes they convey the story a little bit better. And sometimes Viz will just be putting in like cheesy pirate slang for some reason. And I'm like, dude, Viz, why are you doing that, bro? My personal preference is a combination of Viz with little blends of scanlations and then the official Funimation and Crunchyroll subtitles, because those are also subtitles produced by paid professionals. When Gear 5 comes out, the anime might add more statements or clarify things differently. The anime might also even expand on Gear 5's abilities even more, like show Luffy doing more things. But yeah, this was a really big video. There's so much to talk about with Gear 5, but this video is a good guidebook to get you guys started and really like use as like your guidebook to help you sail the One Piece lore. If you ever get confused, you can just come back to this video, get a refresher, and then go out and explore more One Piece lore, because it's going to be super interesting and just stay extremely interesting till the series is done. And even after the series is done, there's probably still going to be big mysteries that never get answered, and we just have to like continue thinking about it. So anyways, guys, that was everything I wanted to say. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment, and share the video with others so that other people can learn this good stuff about Gear 5. Thank you guys for watching, and subscribe for more adventures.